Another story that hit the news in the past couple weeks, and I don't know, have you guys heard about COVID making a comeback?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have too. All right, I want you guys to check out my graphic here. What do you think? Like,
Yes.
do you recognize it?
I approve.
Yeah.
Is it Star Wars?
Yeah, it's the Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes
Star
Back?
Trek.
It's COVID strike. No,
Star
it's
Wars.
Oh my gosh, Star Wars.
I'm just joking.
Anyway, so there has been a lot of news articles popping up lately about COVID kind of coming back. And I have to ask you guys, like a month or two ago, did you guys even think about COVID at all? Like,
I stopped thinking about COVID as soon as the
Years
bans
ago.
were lifted off.
Yeah.
I stopped
So I think a lot of people around here are in the same boat as you. But I mean, being medical, I have,
it changed.
keep
everything
tabs on
pretty
it, a
much.
little bit more because of just the regulations and stuff. But really, I would say that 6 weeks ago, a couple months ago, I hadn't heard anything about COVID, and for good reason. The cases were at the lowest they've ever been since pre-pandemic times. And so then suddenly, like in the past month or so, started seeing some articles pop up about COVID numbers starting to rise. So I wanted to do a little segment on it to see, okay, is this like really a big thing, or is it just the fact that summer's ending and people are getting out more because it's been so hot? And I think that does play into it. I know that everywhere is not Texas, but I think the summer's been pretty hard everywhere across the United States, and I don't think people did as much this summer, and that might have played into why the numbers were down.
It's been really rough.
It was rough. So a couple months ago, so early summer, we were down to about 6,000 hospital admissions per week for COVID. Which is pretty low in comparison to a year ago when it was 45,000, and way down from the height of the pandemic when it was 160,000.
Drastic numbers.
Oh
there.
yeah, the numbers were insane at one point. There was just a huge issue with hospitalizations for COVID, and so getting down to 6,000 for the whole United States, and this is per week. Okay, this is a week time frame, so you're like looking at less than 1,000 per day. That's pretty low. And so we have kind of geared more now looking at the hospitalizations versus total cases, because as you guys may or may not know, the CDC no longer requires states to submit case numbers for COVID, but they are still tracking the hospitalizations. And the other thing that they are looking at these days is wastewater, which when I first heard that, I was like, what in the world are they even talking about? But they can actually look at the wastewater and detect COVID in the wastewater from like sewage.
Oh,
and they're
that
actually,
makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It's a pretty cool technology actually. And so they can actually get a somewhat idea of how cases are trending based on the numbers they're getting back from testing of the wastewater. So as I said, a couple months ago, we were at 6,000 hospital admissions per week in the United States. And the last week that they have data, which was actually a couple weeks ago, so end of August, they were up to 18,000 per week. Now, that sounds like a pretty big jump, and it is. It's three times the number. But compared to a year ago when it was 45,000 a week, we're still, less than half. About what is that, a third, I guess.
And this is all from just like another strain of COVID.
Yeah, and so that's exactly right. So it's gotten with the COVID variations and mutations that even I'm like, okay, wait, what variant are we on now? But the variant that's hitting the United States the most right now is Omicron, and now they have like different sub-variants of Omicron. So the two in the United States right now are EG.5, which is called Eris, and BA.286, which is called Parola, which until I looked those up, I had no idea. I hadn't heard that.
They really make them hard to memorize.
Yeah, they don't make them easy. It's something to do with like the specific, proteins they look at to identify them as to where they get these names. I guess the biggest thing is that Omicron is still kind of the big one, which, Omicron was better because even though it was a little bit more infectious, people weren't getting as sick.
Yeah.
And we are still seeing that. So there is a slight uptick in the number of COVID deaths that are happening, but it's just a minor difference. And of the hospitalizations of people coming in, the number of people that require like an ICU is only 5% right now.
Yeah.
This is all according to CDC. These are CDC numbers. I'm not making these up. I looked up both CDC and mostly the CDC numbers of what they're saying is out there right now. So what does all this mean? To me, it just means that there is a slight uptick in the cases, and I nor anyone is not saying that anyone needs to panic. I mean, it's very common that as summer ends that communicable diseases do pick up. I mean, flu season starts in September, right?
Yeah.
And so, a lot of people, myself included, have always thought that, COVID's kind of going to settle into this thing where it's almost like the flu every year, where it's going to be seasonal. And it's still too early to say that for sure that's going to happen. But I mean, it does kind of look like that might be the case.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And of course, as far as people who have concerns, what to do. I mean, it's all the same stuff that we went over before. If you have concerns, wash your hands, stay away from people that are sick. If you have big concerns, use masks to help protect yourself.
Yeah.
And then of course the vaccines are still out there. I haven't really followed like the different subvariants because every time a new COVID variant comes out, they tinker with the vaccines to try to.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a vaccine since you had to like show a card.
Yeah.
To like get in places.
Yeah, I haven't gotten. I can't remember if I got one or. I know I got 2 vaccines. I think I got 1 or 2 boosters. But for me, and this is me personally, I'm kind of like in the middle of this debate of because there's a huge debate about the vaccines now. Some people think that they cause these problems, which really hadn't panned out in the research. But to each their own. But yeah, for me personally, I mean, the fact that the efficacy, meaning how good the vaccines are, has gone down, and the fact that how virulent the disease, like the virulence of it, has also gone down. Meaning people aren't just like the whole thing about people aren't going to the ICU as much.
Right.
And because a lot of people have immunity, not pure immunity, but if you catch COVID, you're less likely to get as sick the next time, just like the same thing as vaccine. Yeah, so for me, I haven't really been keeping up with the boosters.
Me either.
Yeah.
You know what's really scared me that's not
What's up?
COVID? Have you heard of that like amoeba?
Are you talking about the Bldg fowleria, like the brain-eating amoeba?
And they said it because we were talking about the lake, and they were talking about how
that's how people get it sometimes. It gets up in the nose and then into your brain.
Warm lake water.
Yeah. That's so, okay. Have we never...
We have never talked about this.
Well, okay, we'll have to talk about it. So, I mean, that's
because they posted about it on like...
Well, yeah, the brain, they call it...
like a big like news source, like BBC or something,
They call it the brain-eating amoeba because it tends to get in through your nasal passages and it gets up into your brain. And when you get this amoeba, like it's really, really bad. I mean, you can absolutely die from it. But fortunately, it's pretty rare. I mean, like it's so rare that if somebody dies from it, it ends up kind of being a news story.
There was somebody that died recently from it, and that's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I mean,
I swear, I remember when I was in high school. Have you ever been to Burgers Lake?
No.
It's near Fort Worth.
I haven't been that
It's like this little body.
I've been slumming it on Lake Louisville.
It's not even a lake. It's literally like a pond. That's
it's
spring.
It's like a spring.
It's like a spring-fed pond.
Right.
And they turned it into like they turned it into like a little like water park, pretty much.
Oh, really?
Like a countrified water park. Anyways, I used to go there all the time when I was a kid. And then somebody died from an amoeba there.
Really?
A long time ago.
All right. By Sarah's request, we have a topic for next week. We'll talk about the brain-eating amoeba.
It's scary. That's why I'm like, oh, maybe I don't want to go to the lake.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where...
And I don't want to take Avery because I thought about taking her there before it got too cold. And then they were like, don't. It happens mostly like in like the shallow areas. And like that's where Avery plays, is in the sand with the water.
I think realistically your chances are much higher to get struck by lightning, but I'll look into that.
Okay.
I know it's pretty rare. Yeah, I remember when in med school, everyone would talk about the brain-eating amoeba, and then and you'd hear a story about it. Oh my God, I learned about that in med school. Not that I would really know what to do if somebody had it. I'd have to like go Google it because I don't remember what the treatment is. It's honestly probably metronidazole, or there are some
apparently, by the time you have it,
parasitical.
You're done for.
I don't know if that's true or not.
Because the symptoms are so...
Yeah, I'm going to have to look it up. I've never personally treated a patient that's had it. I've treated some really rare stuff over the years. I've never even, to my knowledge, been in a hospital that's had a patient with it. It's kind of that rare.
Well, that's better.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna look it up for you though, sir. I don't want you to run your life scared.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to jump into a dirty pond, I feel like you should do
Oh,
it.
gosh.
I don't want you to worry about your brain.
Yeah,
getting
no
eaten.
more dirty pond jumping for me.
I'm out.
Done.
All right. But yeah, COVID, sorry, we kind of got sidetracked. Although, honestly, the brain-eating amoeba at this point is more interesting to me than COVID. But yeah, so just so everybody's aware, COVID cases are up. You know, take precautions as you see fit. Please don't panic. You know, the CDC is keeping an eye on it, and, you know, numbers are up a bit. So just take precautions.